Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining, those of you that are on. I'm just trying to figure out how to share my slides. But thank you, everyone, for showing up in the middle of a day on a weekday. Yeah, feel free to chat amongst yourselves for a couple of minutes. I'm going to hopefully figure out how to share my slides. Okay, welcome everybody. I don't know why, I don't know how to share my slides in here. I don't use Cisco WebEx that much. If anyone knows, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'm doing share and it doesn't seem to work. Okay, if I cannot get it working, I'm just going to do the presentation and I could send you guys the slides. There's not that many of you online. Let me give it 2 more minutes for people to come in and start. You can feel free to chat amongst yourselves and maybe I'll figure out how to share the slides. Okay, I think I'll go ahead and get started in the interest of time. I don't want to keep any of you because for some of you, this might be your lunch break. But welcome everyone. I'm Sandra Park. This is a talk about negotiating your salary. Let's see. Okay, hold on. I'm going to need some tips because I made a presentation and I have beautiful slides and I really want to share them to enhance, so you're not just looking at my face the whole time when I'm talking. Okay, hold on. Let me go open it up. Let me try some of this. Let me see. But thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited to talk about this. Like someone mentioned in the chat, it's not something people talk about a lot. And as much as it's a mindset and people can tell you to be confident and all that, I have some tactical tips and I have lots of stories and information to back it up from my 20 plus years of working as an engineer, successfully negotiating my salary from honestly a very low starting salary that I did not negotiate at all right out of college. And I think I'm making a little over 5 times what I started out from my beginning salary. Okay, I'm sorry, I cannot figure it out. Okay, but yes, everyone, I'm Sandra Park. I'm an IEEE member. I've been an engineer for a little over 21 years. I did study electrical engineering. I grew up here in Texas. I went to UTA, if anyone knows what that is, University of Texas at Arlington. And I've been a systems engineer for a little over 21 years, almost exclusively in the aerospace defense sector. I'm trying to think. No, I am. Because my last job, I'm still in the aerospace defense sector, but I work for a Canadian company now, and I work from home and I work remote. But my other passion and the other business that I do on the side is financial coaching. Like, so if you're at this presentation, you're probably somewhat interested in your finances and money, and that's where negotiating your salary, understanding what you're worth, all that comes hand in hand with your finances and money. You want to maximize your value for the work you do outside of your house, right? So let's talk about the cost of staying silent. And that's what I call it, cost of staying silent. So when you're in this negotiation, at one of my first slides, I had an image of two hands shaking each other because to me it's a win-win. It's what can you offer a company, an employer, a workplace, a team, and what can you offer them and what do they offer you? It has to be you're meeting each other's needs, and it's not about this battle of you win something or they win something. You should both come to the table and you're going to try to, meet in the middle and both walk away happy. So when I call it the cost of staying silent, that's you maybe just sitting there in a negotiation, too scared to speak up because you don't want to lose a job offer. You don't want to look like you're needy. You don't want to look desperate. But I give an example over here on this page. So in the beginning of your career where your starting salary is pretty low, it might not feel like it's a big deal, right? Let's say we're talking about the difference between $50,000 starting salary and $55,000, which is a $5,000 difference, not too much, right? It's what happens over time when you don't negotiate and when you have other job changes and other moves. That gap will grow exponentially. And because raises are based on a percentage of your salary, and so are your retirement contributions, your retirement match, bonuses sometimes are based on percentages of your salary. That's why it's all very important. What is your salary? And I had a statistic on this chart about the compounding loss of not negotiating your salary over a career lifetime could be 1 million to $1.5 million. And I don't think we have enough time to do it today, but other times I've given this similar presentation, I'll do a survey, because one time I got feedback from there were younger people, and they're more entry level, and they said, well, that's great that you're talking about negotiating your salary, and you're super confident, and you've worked for 2 decades, so of course naturally you are the type of person who would be negotiating your salary. So I wanted to show people that even entry level people should be doing it. So this is not just advice for people that are much further in their career or a decade into their career. So the two survey questions I asked, and it was a mixed audience of entry level, mid level, late career people. Did you negotiate your first salary right out of college? And then the second question was, do you wish you had negotiated your salary out of college? Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know how to share it. I wish I could. I have a presentation. Hopefully, maybe I can just have it emailed out to all of you guys later. Yes, but so when I did that survey and I did it real time and I let the answers come in, I think maybe 2%, maybe one or two people will say they negotiated their initial entry level engineer salary. But the more compelling, the more interesting question was, do you wish you had negotiated your initial salary? And almost everyone says yes. Oh, I like this. I just negotiated on my job interview yesterday. You'll have to tell us later how that went. We'll have some time for questions and maybe sharing some stories, and I'd love to hear tips and maybe what other people have done. It'll help inspire other people. That sounds good. Yeah, a lot of people are afraid to. Okay, and why does this matter? Why do you think this matters to people? One reason why I think it's really important, especially for engineers, technical types of people, we tend to think that our technical skills will translate over to this workplace and business savvy, and it's not. It's not the same, it's not similar. You're not really rewarded for being the smartest person at a job. It's contrary to how we grow up in school and how we're rewarded for making the honor roll, or being in the top 10 of your school when you graduate. So this academic, these technical skills don't really translate over to the workplace. And you will see it sometimes, to be honest. There will be people that you don't think are as smart or as savvy, or did not study as much as you in college, or published a paper like you did, but somehow they make a higher salary than you. And that comes from, they have more of that workplace savvy. They have more of that business mindset. They know how to negotiate. They know how to speak up for themselves. So this financial confidence that I'm talking about also creates this power where you can negotiate. And what I'm talking about is when you have your finances in order, when you go to a job interview and you have money in your bank account and you're thinking, should I take this? Should I not? That that is very attractive and appealing to these employers and to these jobs. They can kind of sense that. There's a difference when you go to a job interview and you're negotiating from a place of your bank account's about to go negative. You don't have any other companies or people that you're talking to. No other offers are coming, right? So one of the other good things that you can do for yourself is shore up your finances. And when you're negotiating, you might have a little bit more time, might have a little bit more leeway. You can have hopefully multiple companies and jobs courting you, where you have some really good negotiation power. And ultimately, the best power that you can have, which I know not everyone is quite maybe there yet in their career or financially, is when you have true walkaway power. If you think about it, how many times have you been trying to negotiate to buy a car? And when you start telling them, well, I might just go to this other dealership, this other place is offering me a better price. Um, yeah, so has anyone have negotiated for anything big in their life? A car is probably one of the most common ones that a lot of people can relate to. House buying, if you've ever bought a house, there's a little bit of negotiation in that. Yeah. Yeah. So kind of think of it in that sense, and not saying that you don't want these jobs, but when you do have true walkaway power, that's when you can truly negotiate. But that also means that hopefully you are lining up and having multiple offers, and you're not just counting on this one job to come through, and that's the only job, and you're about to go broke, and you're going to be unemployed for so many more months, and unemployment's going to run out. So think about all those things that factor into this, where people can sense, what kind of candidate you are and how attractive you will be. Okay, so step one, lesson one, that you need to do in all this is research and know your worth. This is very important, and I can't underestimate this, because the number of hours you spend researching what is a good salary range for the type of role at the type of company that you are trying to get will really help you throughout all this. So don't think it's wasted time. It's really important. There are different sources online, right? Maybe somebody, if you have any ideas and suggestions, throw them in the chat just for other people. But the common ones that a lot of people know about are Glassdoor, salary.com, Payscale, LinkedIn. So research salary ranges. It's becoming more common now for employers to put the salary range on the jobs, but it's not required everywhere. And that's where your research will come in super handy. So make sure you use reliable sources. Another good way to do this research is talk to peers in a similar type of role in that type of industry. Better yet, if it's the same company that of the role that you're trying to get, right? So I love LinkedIn, and I think people really underestimate the value of LinkedIn for this type of research. If you research different, let's say, data analysts with a similar number of years of experience as you, and you did informal coffee chats with them, and maybe they don't want to disclose their exact salary. Well, I think they might in a one-on-one chat, right? Let's say they tell you their salary, and you had 5 or 6 of these informal coffee chat interviews. You would kind of have some data points on what is a good salary range for that type of role based on the number of years of experience. Another thing that you should do is consider the entire full compensation package, right? So one aspect of your compensation from the company is your salary, right? But some companies have different policies on paying overtime, or they don't pay overtime. Their benefits package. I also tell people, if you're in that interview process with a company, there's nothing wrong with asking, especially the recruiter or the HR type of person, about the benefits. And I've even asked for all the benefit sheets and the cost. I know it sounds like it's jumping the gun, but there's different variances. Sometimes it varies a lot. The smaller companies tend to not have the best benefit packages sometimes. I don't want to overgeneralize, but sometimes that's true. And then the bigger companies, because they can pull together more employees, their benefits might be more affordable. They might be offering more. So make sure you look into that, because it might make a huge difference. And based on what's really important to you, if it's really important to you to have very cheap medical insurance, or to have a lot of time off, or to get paid overtime, things like that. And then the last note I wanted to make, this is for anyone who's a job changer, or pivoting and feels like that they have to undervalue themselves because they may not have the exact right degree or number of years of experience. Don't forget how translatable your skills are, that your skills can translate over to another job, and you should be compensated for that. So um, let's see. Okay, I'll answer that question in a little bit. But yeah, yeah. Oh, advice for new grads facing potential lowball. Yeah, yeah. See, I hate that, but no, you should still negotiate. I do have a story of when my team was trying to hire someone new right out of college. My boss hired him from a job fair, right? And he accepted the very first offer that my boss threw out. And it was funny because my boss was talking to me and he says, I'm not quite sure about this guy anymore. And I was like, what makes you think that he's not going to turn out to be a good person? He said, well, he just accepted the first offer I threw out. So that proves that when you don't negotiate, sometimes it looks like you don't value yourself. Because a lot of companies know the first offer they throw out that you're probably not going to accept it, or there's going to be some, going back and forth. So it's kind of interesting how sometimes companies think you're not really valuing yourself when you do that. Okay, lesson number 2. I think this is another really important one because I see a lot of the advice online getting twisted where people are like, state your number, tell people what you want. The timing of when you talk about salary is very, very important. Okay. So one tip I have is don't share your numbers too early. So you've done your research, you kind of you have a salary range in mind that you would like to ask for. Don't show all your cards super early. I'll give you a very specific example of this, and there's times sometimes you can't avoid this. But when you have a recruiter call from a company, what either they work for the company or there's recruiters that don't directly work for that company, the third party recruiters. This is more pertinent for the ones that actually work for the company that has the job, right? So let's say they call you and they're trying to do this little phone screen, over the phone. One of the questions they're going to get very pushy about is what is your salary requirement? What do you want? And I try to avoid throwing out a salary requirement at all. So, because one of the issues is when it's a phone screen, because it's sometimes unprompted, I haven't done enough research into the role or the job. This is maybe a response to me doing a quick online application 2 weeks ago. I haven't had enough time to do a research and I don't want to bind myself to a number. So I had a friend one time that she kept, she had that bad advice where, she saw online that everyone was saying, just tell him your number, just tell him your number. And anytime she did these phone screens, she would throw out her number. And I don't think it was even very well researched. So it was a very, very high number, to be honest. So when she was telling me, I was like, oh, I don't know if that's really reasonable. But anyways, if you think of it this way, the recruiter at the company is a bit more of a gatekeeper. They're trying to keep you from talking to the hiring manager. They're the first line of defense at that company. And you actually want to talk to the hiring manager, the person who has the power to actually hire you, the person that you'll actually work for one day. The recruiter, you'll probably never speak to them after you actually land the job. After you negotiate the salary, they might walk you through, they might be with you through the process of actually getting the job, but after that, you'll never probably speak to this recruiter again. They're not even the traditional HR person. So why let this gatekeeper person keep you from even talking to the real decision makers that can actually hire you? So as much as possible, when it's a recruiter doing a phone screen, or even if it's a manager or somebody at the company doing a phone screen, this initial first round where they're trying to rule out a bunch of people, you do not want anything where you're being ruled out. And let's talk about some answers where you can kind of dodge it. I'll just say something about, well, I don't know enough about the role yet. I would like to move further along in the process where I could understand a little bit more about the role before we talk about salary or compensation. Or sometimes I'll say something like, I'm just really excited about the possibility of joining the company and I really want to learn so much more about the job. So, don't express any frustration, don't get angry or mad at them. They're just doing what they think is their job, right? But they're trying to discard any people that they can to narrow it down to get to the hiring manager. And if you throw out some, pie in the sky number, you could get ruled out really quick. I actually do have a story around that. There was one time a company called me out of nowhere, and they actually did have a salary range on the job. So this is another way where you get in trouble, not having researched it very much. They had this huge salary range. I think it was about 150K salary range. And I did ask before they asked me for the number. I said, "Are you sure this is your salary range?" And they said, "Yes," because I'm like, it's really, really wide. And they confirmed it was their salary range. So when they asked me for the number, just very quickly in my head, I just took the bottom number and the top number and I added it up and divided by 2 because I figured that's the exact median. And I said, that's my number. And yeah, I never got called or talked to again from that company. I basically got ghosted and ruled myself out. Like I said, I knew something was very fishy and off with their numbers, and they had a super big, wide range on it. But in that quick, when they put me on the spot and asked you for a number, I just went with the median. But I think looking back, the median was not a very reasonable number at all for that type of role. Yeah, so basically the big takeaway is recruiters screen, hiring managers decide, and you want to try to move along in the process to actually talk to the hiring manager. To me, even the job interview time is a little too early to negotiate or talk about salary. You can look like you're a person that only cares about the money and not the role and what you would be doing and how you would fit into the organization. Okay, so getting down to the negotiation, lesson 3 is be strategic. And we're going to talk about this concept called the anchor. So when you actually do get to the point where the hiring manager or the recruiter contacts you, it's post interview time, and now they're expressing interest that they would like to hire you. And this is the call when they're usually trying to feel out what kind of salary you would like if you haven't stated it already. Like if they kind of push you to state it already, then yeah, they already know, right? But if you're at this point, they're trying to feel it out, so hopefully there's not too much back and forth with the offer, right? I think the best advice is for you, the person that is trying to get the job offer, to throw out the first number. Here's the reason why. When you let the employer or the company or HR, manager, whoever, we're talking about the people on the other side, when you let them throw out the first number, that's called anchoring. So I'll give you an example of how it goes. So, let's say there's a job offer for data analyst type job, and you're like expressing mutual interest, and then say, well, how about 75K for the job? And let's say you did your research and it's a little more around 100K. So now the problem is they threw out the first offer, which is about 25K lower than what you expected. So now you're going to be trying so hard to negotiate back and forth and back and forth. And they set it so low that it's kind of a hard place to come from, right? Because you want to come up about $25,000, about a third of the way up. And that's going to be a much tougher struggle. If you set that initial number, you want, 100, you could say, oh, I was thinking my range is about, 100 to 115 or something. So, yeah, so getting it more specifically into the range, you want to share your own research salary range. And I suggest using smaller, tighter ranges. And ideally, the bottom of the range should be what you really, really want. So don't throw something out there. Like if you want 100K and you say 90K to like 120K because you think it's going to come in the middle, I would try to anchor the bottom of the range closer to what you really want, right? And here's another tip. I've actually learned this from buying and selling a lot of houses, but I also think it works for salary negotiating. I can't remember the exact psychology behind it. Use odd numbers. When you use these very even numbers, it just sounds like you kind of pulled it out of nowhere. So it's the difference between saying 90 to 120K versus 91 to 101, right? 91 to 101 sounds like a much more researched, you can back it up with some data type of range versus 90 to 120. It's too big. They're very round numbers. It sounds like you just pulled it out of nowhere. The other tip is, when you're negotiating, if you're feeling like you're reacting and you're feeling desperate and all that, it's okay to take time. Just the main thing is you have to express to them, I would like some time to consider this or think about it. So don't feel like you're ever put on the spot and you have to give an answer very quickly or you're going to lose the offer. There are even times when I actually had another competing offer and I'll just let the employer know I'm talking to someone else. There's another offer on the table. For me, I don't like to personally disclose who else I'm talking to, and what type of job and all that. I think that's not very classy. If that's up to you, that's a personal thing. But I think there's something kind of discreet and respectful about, I'm considering another offer at the moment. Because that might factor into your timeline and how quickly how much more time you have. Okay, lesson number 4, confidence. So I can't understate this enough. Confidence wins. So some of the ways that you can show you're confident is speaking slowly. Speak slowly and clearly. When you speak fast like this, or you do these high pitches, or you seem very frantic, then people think that you're not confident. Another tip, and I've fallen victim to this, and I see the difference when people are negotiating. Don't over explain your ask. So when you're throwing out your range, you throw out your range. You don't say, because I went to Purdue University and I published all these papers and I'm an IEEE senior member and blah. The more you do that, the less confident you appear, right? So men are actually pretty good about this. They state what they want and they're not going to follow it up with this big, long, convoluted explanation. You can definitely express, I'm very grateful for, this offer. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys, excited about, taking on this new challenge at this job or role. You can definitely express gratitude. It's not to say be gruff and abrupt and all that, but you don't have to keep explaining your background, keep proving yourself. You already sold it in the interview. They want you at this point, right? The other tip is to remove emotion from this process. So the more emotional you get, the more personally you take it that you think you're lowballed, the more upset you get about all this, the less power you have in this, right? This is a little bit more of a business transaction, right? And my last takeaway, because I've seen this happen with so many people, is if you have this inkling in your mind that you're going to regret not asking for more money, just do it. Just do it. Because there's nothing worse than you starting a job and not feeling thrilled and excited and happy and wanted by that company. And you want to work there, they want you to work there. There's no better time than during this process when they have expressed interest in hiring you and you're about to work for them. I kind of call it like, this is a little bit like the proposal, like if we translate it to like dating relationship terms, and you have actually a lot of leverage. I'm not saying take advantage. What I'm saying is they are so excited about you coming and joining the team and the company and the work that you'll do. You are super excited to work for them and that company. So there's no time when you're more excited about this merger, basically, this marriage that's about to happen. So if you have any qualms that, should I just ask for this? Just do it, because you don't want that resentment going into this relationship, to this job. It basically is a relationship when you have a job, right? With the company and your boss and the team. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go through the last couple of slides pretty quickly. Okay, so you want to avoid desperation. This lesson 5. Avoid desperation and salary stagnation. So like I talked about earlier, the more financially stable you are, the more freedom you have to negotiate, right? And I alluded to it before, and I know a lot of people don't enjoy the interview, the job hiring process, but multiple offers at the same time. If you could time them around the same time, this provides you a lot of leverage. And like I said, it's not about being tacky. It's not about ghosting other companies in the process. As long as you're communicating, right? And you're letting them know, like, hey, I'm talking with another company. I think another offer is about to come. Um, it can provide a lot of leverage. I actually had a multiple offer situation years ago, and you know, I was really shy about telling them about it. And it was interesting because they're very different type of roles, but there's nothing that makes a company act faster or get back to you quicker with the offer or helps you negotiate more when they think someone else is interested in you. And the salary stagnation piece, this is where you really need to reassess your market value every 2 to 3 years. So the problem, the good and bad of staying at the same company for a while is you're employed, you're growing, hopefully you're moving up their trajectory or ladder, and you're growing as a person. But sometimes even staying at a company for as short a time for 2 to 3 years, your salary, because you're getting just little incremental raises, you're kind of losing traction in the in the job market. So don't be obsessed with it. Like I said, it's not always the most important thing, but sometimes assess that every once in a while. That's why they always talk about the best, you know, job increases, salary increases are when you actually leave a company, because you kind of get reassessed again according to market value, right? Okay, I have a slide. Number 6 is handling objections gracefully. I'm just going to go through some of them quickly. So just what it is just be prepared for they're going to have some cookie cutter objections, right? And you might really fall for some of them, but actually, if you think about the logic behind some of them, they don't even make sense. So you just want to be able to handle them gracefully, kind of be prepared for, like I talked about, it's a negotiation. There's going to be pushback. Don't expect that you just throw out your range and they're like, oh, yes, yes, we'll do it. Like they'll be like, oh, we need to get back to you, and then you might have to go back and forth a few times, right? So these are some of the ones I've actually even personally heard in my career. I didn't even just make these up. So the employer will say, we pay everyone on the team the exact same salary or the exact same range. And these are my example, ways that you can handle it. I'd love to understand how my experience fits into that structure. For a boss to say every person gets paid the same, that's probably not true. There are people of all different experience levels on a team. They just like to say that sometimes. This is another really common one that you'll probably get hit with a lot, and this is my take on it. What did you make previously? And as I talked about before with the anchoring, if you tell people your previous salary, especially if you're underpaid, they will try to only come up a certain little percentage or amount based on your previous salary. This is why I never usually disclose what I made somewhere else. So it's usually not to your benefit. So just be prepared when people are asking, what did you make in your previous job? To this is a polite dodge. I say I prefer to focus on the market rate of this role and the responsibilities of this new role that I'm considering, because they're not always apples to apples, right? You could be taking a lead position. You could be taking a position at a smaller company where you'll be filling a lot more hats and responsibilities on the team. What are your salary expectations? So I talked about that earlier, but I would say I'm open based on the overall package. And then this is another good way you can push it back on them. I try to get them to throw out the first number. I say, what range do you have budgeted for this role? And with recruiters, sometimes they will disclose a range for the role. So if you can get them to answer that, that would be great. And the last lesson is just remember you are in the business of yourself. You are the asset to the company. I know we all want to get hired by good companies. We all want good jobs. We want all want to get paid the most we possibly can. But you are bringing your mental energy, your brain power, all of your education, your hard work, your tenacity. You are the asset to that company. And if you start treating your career like a business, your salary is your revenue stream. You may not see it that way, but your salary is the revenue you're bringing in as the business of you, and negotiation is your strategy for growth. But yes, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Sandra Park. I'm super active on LinkedIn. Don't feel shy to send a message or connect or follow or whatever. But I'd like to open it up to questions that other people have.
Hi, Sandra. Yeah, we do have a lot of questions in the chat. I can help you out reading them up. All right. So we have a question from Koshin. He says, I know you mentioned having multiple offers to play against. Could time of the year also play a factor in negotiations?
I mean, I don't think so. This is my opinion about it, because someone is always leaving a job no matter what. It's not even based on, I don't know if you're thinking of like fiscal year, or I always hear a lot of people talking about nobody gets hired in the summer, nobody gets hired on Christmas holiday. No, just kind of like anything in life, there's seasons. There's people that have to move abruptly. There's people that have to, change jobs. So I don't really think it matters a whole lot about the timing of the season. What's even harder to line up is the timing of you getting offers in that same time window, especially now, because people want people responding to offers so quickly. I remember years ago, I used to have like a month to decide on an offer. Now it's like a week. That's probably the hardest part to line up. Yeah.
Great question. I think this is a segue to the second question. What is the best time to negotiate salary? Is it when the hiring manager express interest in hiring you?
Yes, absolutely. After they express interest in hiring you, then that is the best time you can negotiate your salary, because now it's not untoward, it's not a bad time to talk about it. And I've even had situations, I'm not saying to do this all the time on purpose, but this has benefited me also. Sometimes when I can't get past the what's your salary expectation type of discussion with the recruiter, I'll agree to maybe something. Sometimes they'll say, oh, this is what we have for the role. And I can tell it's low. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I want to move on. I want to see, if it would be a good job for me. Right. So sometimes I don't really agree or disagree. I just kind of say, I would just like to move on. And then by the time that I'm actually getting hired by that hiring manager, I can usually negotiate a much, much higher offer, because that's where my capital has gone up, right? Where they're like, oh, this is the person I really want. And are they really gonna, lose out on the candidate they want over what, $10,000, $20,000, things like that. So
Awesome. Yeah, there is another interesting question. Sometimes the recruiter for the company or the company itself insists that we share a range for a salary in order to proceed, etc. Alternatively, they state upfront that the range and say, however, we will not be able to go over the midpoint, etc., and then ask if that is fine before proceeding. If we say yes, are we stuck with that, or how do we navigate it?
oh, okay, that's a great question, because I've actually had that scenario many times, and I feel I'm not stuck to it. Like I said, I don't really give like this declarative, like no, or write a long email or have it in writing. I don't, like I said, I don't want to like mislead them, but sometimes I'll just kind of dodge and talk around it and move on. There was one job offer when I was talking to the recruiter. She made it really clear. She said, I looked at your resume and I think this is the most we can pay you. And it was way lower than what I expected. And I said, it's okay, don't worry. So I didn't really say no. I was just kind of like, no problem, let's move on, right? And then by the time I actually got around to where the hiring manager wanted to hire me, and the offer I negotiated was considerably higher than what that recruiter wanted. So to me, okay, let's put it this way. The hiring manager trumps the recruiter all the time, right? So if the hiring manager wants you that badly, they're going to try to make it work. And like again, also, if you have a good hiring manager, remember, you're going to work for this person. You want someone to advocate for you. You want someone that is trying to come to terms and meet you. The recruiter, if anything, they're trying to weed as many people out as possible. So, they can show like 3 resumes or 5 resumes to the hiring manager. So I don't really take it that seriously. I just wouldn't probably put it in writing. I don't make a big deal about it. I don't scream at them. I don't say no. I just kind of dodge it and talk around it to move on in the process. And then, yeah. And you know what, if you're wrong, then you wasted some time and it's okay. Because remember, even when you get to offer stage, it's just an offer. You can still decline it. Right. And the most you'll be out is time and some energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. Another question from Yangli. I got my first offer and currently do not have other competing offers. What strategy do you recommend on delaying offer signing process since I want to get my offers later and compete?
Oh, are you talking about like months and months later, or like do you think like I don't know, it depends
I
how.
imagine they are waiting on getting offers from other companies, so they want to
Oh,
delay the
okay.
process of signing for the offer that they got.
Oh, this is what I would just tell them. I would be upfront with the company that you're talking to. And I would say I would like a little more time because I'm waiting for offers from other companies. There's nothing wrong with disclosing that. I wouldn't show them every single offer. I wouldn't tell them the names of the companies. I probably wouldn't throw out numbers and specifics. You don't have to. You're not obligated to, but you can let them know. Could you extend out the time period? I'm talking to some other companies, and you could use it as a leveraging bargaining chip because they might come back with more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say maybe you're not interested, that's not the one you truly want, then it kind of makes the other companies speed up or might increase those offers. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Another question from Michael. Once I had an opportunity come in above my desired compensation based on research, and I accepted on the spot. Money at the time wasn't a specific goal. When these instances happen, is it okay to accept, or should we always look to negotiate?
No, there are times when companies their very first offer is a really good offer. Or honestly, I've had some companies where they offered me way more than the range that I wanted. I guess for most of this presentation, we're kind of assuming they're kind of coming in under than what you want. But if you've done your research and you are happy with that number, yeah, no need to negotiate. It's not like you have to, and it shows that you're undervaluing yourself. Because there are companies and employers that they compensate very well. Some companies don't want to do the back and forth. Um,
Mm,
yeah.
all right. Another question. A lot of great questions. How to respond to an employer pushback? We pay everyone on the team the exact salary, and what did you make previously?
Oh, yeah. I've had both those objections before. Um, yeah. So, what did you make previously? I always dodge that question. I would never disclose the number, especially if it works against you. Maybe if there's a time where, you thought they were lowballing you, you made way more. You might say, well, this is actually what I used to make. I used to make way more than this, and this would be a pay cut for me. Um, but I would say, well, this is a different company, different role and responsibilities. Even the team type of question. Just bring up, like I said, without over explaining, like your background and what value you add to the team. Every person's unique on the team. They can't pay everyone exactly the same. We all know logically that's not possible or true. So, this is what I bring to the table based on my X number of years and the kind of value I've added at other types of jobs and roles. Kind of bring it back to yourself, not like all about them, right? And the team and the company.
I received another private question though. The question says, how do you communicate to your manager a salary increase request if you see them hiring your similar role but at a higher salary?
Oh, yeah, that does happen. Unfortunately, that does. Um, I would ask for a meeting and make sure this is where you actually do for this, you do need evidence and you need to back it up, right? But hopefully you are in good communication with your manager, semi-regular communication where they kind of know what you're doing, but you're going to present a case. You're going to have to build a little you know, PowerPoint or something, a few slides, and kind of pitch it and try to get your salary adjusted. And I would not bring up the other people and that you know that you're getting paid less than newer people joining the team. I would like, again, like the other answer, don't make it about other people, right? Because then that looks petty. That looks like you're just comparing and all that. Just say, I would like to get my salary readjusted. I haven't done it myself, but actually I've had a lot of friends successfully do that. They came in for a certain salary and maybe a year or two later, they will go and pitch it to their boss that this is what I really think I should be making. You could also say maybe when I accepted the role, I didn't understand maybe all the roles and responsibilities, but this is what I really do. Because maybe you do way more than what they presented in the job interview. And if you can kind of show this, like, I call it a business case, right? It's the business case of this is the value I add, and this is like the type of compensation I would like. But again, don't make it about the other people and you know that you're underpaid and, you know,
Mhm.
other team members and all that.
Yeah. Another question, when applying to jobs online, what is the best way to handle online application that require you to input a minimum salary as part of the application?
Oh, sometimes I get around it by putting TBD or but I notice some of them don't like it because they require a number, right? So I used to put in like NA, TBD, you know, negotiable, open to discussion and all that. But just if you're going to put like the bottom of the range, like I was saying, hopefully you've kind of researched that position already or that type of position. You may not know everything about the company and the team and how stressful that type of job or role might be, but I would put the bottom at, you know, closer to what you think you should be making in that role. Um, or sometimes what I'll do if I do a range on those you know, initial applications, I make it pretty big. To be honest, because when you actually negotiate, I was talking about make that little tight range, right? Don't do some crazy 50K, 100K range. On that, you might do like a big range, so you don't get ruled out, right? If you did like 100 to 200, right? Yeah, because I don't take any of that stuff on the application that seriously, to be honest. And hopefully they don't, and they don't hold you to it. So you're just trying to make it through. You're trying to make it farther through so that you don't get ruled out. If you put, you know, 500K, and they're gonna be like, oh, okay, let's take you out of the running. We got other people that are willing to work for a more reasonable amount of money, you know?
Mm. One more question, and I think we have a couple minutes before we finish. We can address this one last question from Kalyani. I'm returning to work after a 4-year gap. There is a job that I have completed all the rounds for. I believe this is gonna be great fit, and I will be a valuable asset in the company. They have offered me the lowest salary within the salary range. How do I negotiate to move that to the middle of the range?
Oh, okay. So they offered you the bottom of the range.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, I guess part of because you mentioned it in the question is the insecurity around you've had a little bit of a career break, right? The 4 years off. So yeah, kind of, you know, feeling like you're returning and all that. No, I would state that you need to get the range closer to the middle because the thing is, yeah, you're gonna resent working there. It's really hard to come up that much. I don't know what the whole range is, but that's a really you know, bad starting point, right? Just say, this is about what I was thinking that I should be compensated, and do your range, anchored around the middle of that range. I'd like to be a little closer to the middle. This is what I think I have to offer. So I would just push back on that with the number that, that range closer to the number you're looking for, and see what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, do you on this example or this question, do you think during that 4-year gap, if they are able to present that they have been doing volunteering work and other stuff, not just work, they can leverage that those skill sets?
Sure. Yeah, that will help booster it. Yeah, that will help bolster it. But yeah, there's just such a stigma, I feel like, around taking career gaps and people returning to work and all that. But yeah. I mean, just the fact you put it in the question, maybe that's where part of it's coming from. But no, don't let them undervalue you. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Do we have a time for more question? One more question, Sandra? Think.
Sure.
Okay. I'm a contractor. Accept a role hourly rate as engineer. After joining a project, it is more of leading project, also developing. How can I negotiate this in contract roles?
Oh, so now you're doing an hourly rate versus a salary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So actually, you know what? It's a great question, because my current role is the first time I ever went contract. So I've always worked W-2 for an employer, more traditional, like, permanent employee, and now I'm a contractor. I would definitely, one downside of contracting is sometimes the benefits are not as good, right? So definitely take that into an account, right? Because you might be either paying for some of your benefits, you're going to lose vacation days. I mean, I don't know the exact situation because it varies. I have some contractor friends that have zero paid time off. I get like a little bit of paid time off, less than what I used to get as an employee. But make sure you calculate out what it would be yearly. So translate your hourly rate to more like the yearly rate, and look at what are you losing or missing out on. Also, to be honest, being a contractor, it's a little more unstable, right? You could get fired a little more easily. So hopefully, maybe you're getting compensated more. And I'm trying to think what else I was evaluating when I did it. But yeah, just look at the entire package. A lot of what they're wanting in contractors is you have to hit the ground running, right? They want very experienced people. They don't. This is typically why people starting out in their careers don't contract. They're trying to leverage off you have, decades of experience in something. So make sure you're well compensated for it, because sometimes they might understate exactly how much work you're doing. And even this job I have now, I'm realizing it's pretty big. It's what they want out of the contractors and the people they hire, is a lot. It's for leadership, for technical expertise, and all that. So make sure you're compensated well for that. Yeah.
All right, awesome. And I think we are, that was the last question. We have a couple minutes to go. I just wanted to address operational question, which is about the recording. So yes, this session is recorded and we will be sending out the recording. It's a great session. I wanted to mark our Kimudini. I know we joined a little bit later on. We had another webinar going on. Do you guys have any questions? If not, we'll give Sandra any final thoughts or remarks from her.
No questions from me, but thanks a lot, Sandra, for joining us and sharing your expertise and your insights. I think it's amazing, and I think it's going to be a great value add for all the registrants for the career fair itself. So thanks a lot for that.
Agree.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sandra, very much from my side as well, and on behalf of the IEEE Career Fair team. And I see here the chat was very excited with the conversation. They definitely had a lot of questions, and you shared a lot of value. We definitely appreciate your time, and I thank you. over to you, Sandra, for any final notes.
Well, no, thank you everyone for joining the talk. Thank you IEEE for letting me have this venue to where I could speak about it. I'm so passionate about, you know, negotiating for your worth and your salary and all that. And just remember as you're going into, you know, whatever job fair situation or seeking a job, to be confident, to know that you have value in the workplace, that it's so much, it's not even just about salary and money. This is like your worth, right? This is the energy, and what you do outside of the home is so important, right? And you just want to get compensated fairly for it. And this is when you can actually feel good about your work and your contribution to a company and what you're working on. So think of it not just as feeling greedy or like, you know, you're so cheap or anything like that. I think we have to get away from that, where it's like, this is like almost like our life energy. And we care so much about what we do, and you just want to get compensated very well. Market value for your mind, and every person is priceless. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everyone. And now we look forward to having you at the career fair. That concludes our series of pre-event workshops. We have one more to go, actually, which is a mock interview. It's not a presentation. It will be led by some of our IEEE volunteers. They dedicated some of their time to sit with the job seekers and do some mock interviews and answer questions. And that will be on Friday. That will be tomorrow. So we'll share more details about that via email. Everyone else, thank you so much. Sandra, thank you very much for your time and your sharing your expertise. And we will see you again soon.
Yes.
All right, bye-bye.
So much.
Thank you. Bye.